This is Fam Electric Ghost, and this is our continuing series of song deconstructions that we do on Anchor. And we're going to talk about a song that we wrote a couple of days ago called Ravished by a Little Death. And I have a love of Victorian romantic poetry. And the type of poetry that this is very it fits in with the whole expansive sound motif. I do a lot of William Blake references. I do Tennyson references, and I'm just describing for the first time probably something you've heard Josephine say a lot in a lot of famous Electric Ghost songs is that concept that Tennyson came up with called Little Death. And Little Death is a Victorian poet's way of talking about an orgasm in a more less gouge way. But the Victorian poets would always try to mask, sexuality in all kinds of flowery language. And the Little Death was maybe not as much a flowery language, but the idea that having an orgasm kind of takes a little part of you. It actually causes like a little death in the body. And that was their way of describing it, which kind of makes sense given the morality at the time. And sexuality was always controversial. And so this is a way of talking about it without being so blatant of saying, oh, I want to do you, I want to F you, I want to be kind of really explicit. It's another way of saying that you want to, make love to somebody in another way. And so the Little Death is what Josephine's talking about, and she's ravished by it, and she's totally enamored by it, and she is just celebrating sexuality, which Josephine, like my alter ego, my character I create, vocoder, tends to really go there. And this song, what I've done with it is I have a new version of Josephine's voice that was created via the VTO3 vocoder from the ARIA line from Roland. And I was playing with the typical vocoder setting, which is not always what I use. It's more like robotic type of heavy vocoder use rather than more pitch use, which is normally used for Josephine's vocal as a pitch change to a soprano level. This is actually doing a more robotic voice. And then I have it heavily affected by my MX1 mixer, running through different profiles on the MX1 and also different profiles on the Zoom R24. So I started to really investigate a lot of the sonic settings on the R24, and I've been really diving into the capabilities there on top of the capabilities of the VTO3 to change the pitch, to change the format and the reverb and other settings that created this kind of maxed robotic voice that's not normally associated with Josephine. So you could say, was this really Josephine? Is this Stephanie? Or is this the Phantom? I'm not sure. I still tagged it as a Josephine track and it still felt like who she is. But it's a different vocal style than what I've done. I've done some robotic type of vocals on some songs in the catalog. But this song was a very experimental because I was using a different technique for the vocal. The piano playing was just kind of ad hoc, kind of free jazz, just flowing on top of the drum beats I typically create through the Arturia Beatstep Pro and the JDXI, which I like to do the chain pattern capability and play with the timing of the rhythm tracks, and then sometimes to shift around the chain pattern randomly or do the roll control at different points in the mix. So there's a lot going on here. There's a DFAM in the mix, Drummer from Another Mother being used for bass tones. There's a System 1M being triggered also by the Beatstep Pro, which can do like 3 lines of synthesis. And there's a Mother 32 that's also in the mix buried in it, along with an Arturia mini group going to a 6U Euro rack. Plus, we're affecting signals with the Math Utility module, which allows us to do some really cool sound manipulation of the sound coming through the Euro rack. And my DFAM my Mother 32 all go through the Eurorack, and I have a Pittsburgh modular 2x4 mixer that allows me to change the levels of the mix on the Eurorack before it even gets to my dual mixer setup, which I've said before, that I use a dual mixer setup with a MX1 performance mixer from Roland, being used to take mono signals and turn them into stereo signals and also apply effects. And in addition, I use the Zoom R24 to do the initial recording to SD wave files, 24-bit, 44.1 megahertz. And I also do the sonic profiling on the Zoom R24 and do a initial master on the R24. Final master is done at landar.com, who is my publisher for all Phantom Electric Ghost music. And that's how I tend to set up everything that I do, is do that type of hardware workflow with these hardware synths. So the hardware synths run through this hardware workflow where I can master everything, initial master on hardware, on an R24 from Zoom. And I previously used an R16, but the R24 has a lot deeper headroom. So getting back into the actual song, the idea that Tennyson had this little death idea, which I've used in my poetry and my music for several years. It's something I've been very enamored with ever since I read, Lord Byron and his poetry. And I think it's really a good way to kind of mask what you're talking about initially and put a little mystery into what you're saying. And then there's a lot of mystery in this song. Is like I kind of mask Josephine's voice. You can maybe hear her talking about this, but it's not super clear. You got to use headphones to really understand it. And then you can just actually just listen to the song without really listening to the lyrics. If you just listen into it on the open air, but if you put the headphones on, you can start to decode what Josephine's saying. And that maybe is making a listener do a little too much work. But a lot of times with music, it's kind of rewarding. It's like when you read Paradise Lost, that's not easy to read. And so I'm kind of coming from this kind of romantic poetry zone where I kind of want the listener to do a little work and figure out what we're talking about. And sometimes songs it's real clear what we're doing, and we make it very clear to hear the vocals. Other songs we kind of mask things. It goes back to my love of indie music. You go back to REM. Some people would say that REM, the classic REM, where you really couldn't understand Michael Stipe, you had to kind of imagine what you thought he was saying or singing, was really awesome in a way, because it's very atmospheric, very innovative, very experimental. Was the essence of college radio. The early albums, Murmur, Songs of the Reconstruction, those albums, Fables of the Reconstruction, they were just, I think classic. I still love the kind of mystery that Michael Stipe put around those albums. We would sit there listening to them, and I used to listen to them on vinyl, and we would just sit there really intent on the whole record. It was, an experience, and a lot of people today was like, well, I can't understand what somebody's saying. People can say that about Dylan. Dylan has a very unique vocal style. Some people either love it or they hate it. He has multiple voices. And sometimes he could really sing like a Nashville skyline. He's got some really awesome singing. And other times he does this kind of characterization. Even at the beginning, he was like a clone to Arlo Guthrie and Woody Guthrie. He could kind of be a chameleon. Then he came onto his own. He found his own voice with the band, Blonde on Blonde. A lot of really awesome material he did. And then you get a reinvention with, Tangled Up in Blue. And he continually reinvented himself. He worked Brian Eno, he worked with Dire Straits, Infidels, Mark Knopfler. He really, to me, was like, a pure musician. Hendrix was totally enamored with Dylan, all along the Watchtower, his version. Even Dylan thought was superior in sonic creation, but the lyrics are just, if you're going to be a lyricist, you have to look at Dylan, whether you like his voice or not, just to understand how to write songs at that level. And then, if you want to get into alternative music, I think, Alex Chilton and Lou Reed are really good examples of indie songwriting and actually bringing feeling and meaning and atmosphere to music. These are like my heroes. I've always talked about the other influences like Sun Ra, Johnny Cash, Prince, Hendrix, some classic rock influences I think that you can bring to the modern day song development. And when you take everything that's out there, the best of everything, there are hip hop aspects of some of the stuff I do because I do spoken word kind of beat poetry. A lot of what the Ghost does is kind of just, not as much sing, but actually spoken word, vibing to sound paintings is what the Ghost does. And we feel that we like to express ideas and concepts that can be understood as like a movie script. And we had talked about in a previous episode that we worked with Metaflow on Wounded Room, and she had actually created a full script for a short film that we converted into a song. And it had a lot of cinematic theatrical elements that you could kind of picture the scene. And that is the goal of, I think, a lot of songwriters, is to put you into a scene, put you into a little, sonic play, and kind of show you a protagonist and antagonist and the plot and the overall idea. By the time you get to the end of the song, you know what the story was about. And that is a lot of what we try to do. This song is not as much of a story as a feeling of describing sexuality and the masking that people do and the hidden passion in that. And the Romantic poets were really, total masters of that. And this song is just a little tiny piece of Romantic poetry concepts and the idea of a little depth. I have other songs that are probably deeper into explaining it. This is more just a feel of that type of passion. But now we'll get to our business aspect. We are now fan supported. You can subscribe to Anchor. We have been putting on the table that we have CDs on Amazon.com of our first 3 Phantom Electric Ghost albums, Something Wicked, Indigo Menace, and Synesthesia, Sweet Neo Soul Surrender. If subscribers subscribe to the $4.99 or $9.99 subscription, and you continue that subscription, we will provide you with a copy of those records if you provide us with your information. It's kind of good, relying on you giving us the information. So if you don't give us your information to mail it, then you won't be able to get that. But if you want to support the Ghost either way, that is something that would be very helpful to us, because we want to bring in additional co-hosts. We want to be able to interview more artists. We want to be able to try to bring in a video version of the show on Facebook. We want to potentially even interview people at gigs and be able to get to the gig and interview an artist. And so that is our future vision. And we're also looking, like I said, for a co-host to be able to interview the bands on our other show that we do on Anchor, is we interview indie artists from around the world, multiple genres, not just electronic music. We interview actors and models and, creators like Chernobello.com, who actually created created an album cover for us when we did the All Control K Phantom Electric Ghost album To Infinum, which is still out there on all platforms. And Chernobello is also working on our Dark Ghost album, but we kind of put that on hold until we can get a deal to create the CDs and the vinyl. We're trying to see if we can get a label to help us with that before we put all of our own money into it. And so we've been focusing on just single releases, though we've got a sequence version of Dark Ghost on SoundCloud. That is pretty much what the album is going to be. But the full package would be CDs with liner notes and art. And the vinyl would be a bigger project. It would probably be vinyl releases over time, because the vinyl would be a different experience, but it would be multiple vinyl albums in parts to match up to the CD, because this album is about 2 hours long. It would take a lot of vinyl to fill that up. And it would be, once we start it, there would be vinyl releases of Dark Ghost for like a year or more. And so this is where we are as the Ghost. We're doing a lot of cool things. We're going to be interviewing Kendra Black again, and she got a brand new record coming out. We have a bunch of other people on deck to interview. We're hoping to collaborate with some other artists. We're in negotiations with different artists to do collaborations and work together with different people. If people are interested in working with Fam Electric Ghost, if you like what we do, get on Anchor, favorite us on Anchor. You can send us a voice memo. You can send us a note through our Instagram, which is expansive_sound_experiments. And we could work together like we did with several artists we've done work for. So if you want to get into that, let us know. We'll put a little note on this broadcast to talk about, how you should contact us and get, going on what we think is a really good experience to share ideas and concepts in music in the community and kind of pay it forward and support each other as indie artists. And our overall goal eventually is to build a recording studio in New Hampshire to give people a different environment to go to record. We want to expand our expansive sound experiment studio into a full studio and have a lot of really cool gear, including like Moog, System 33s and 55s, Neve, analog sound board equipment, a real sound stage to play on, and potentially have concerts and do filming from. It's our overall concept that we're hoping to put together. It's a dream. Whether or not dreams come true, you have to put the energy into it. We've been able to get out here and be doing this work, and so we believe that our future vision will come to pass. There are always hiccups in the road, but you just keep nose to the grindstone, and you just keep on doing what you're going to do, and you can get there. So thank you for listening, and pay it forward. If you like an artist, let other people know about it, favorite them, forward them, buy their merch, show up at their concerts, let artists know you like them. That lets us know that we're doing the right thing. Thank you.